All right. As you guys probably know now, I am Jen Coito with the Association of Financial Educators. Decided to do a little series and interview some of our most successful members, get their tips for success, who the program is a fit for and who it isn't. Today, I'm super excited to be talking with Michael, the legend Chadwick, as I call him. Michael is the president and founder of Chadwick Financial Advisors in, look at my cheat sheet, Canton and Thomaston, Connecticut. Michael, thank you so much for your time today.
Jen, thanks for having me. This is going to be a blast.
It already is, I can tell. Never actually spoken with Michael, but I've heard so many good things about him through my colleagues at AFE. So Michael, why don't you start with telling me how long you've been involved with our company?
I've been involved with the AFE, I'm going to say around 5 years-ish, plus or minus a little bit.
5 years. Okay. And so obviously 5 years ago was COVID wasn't even a twinkle in anyone's eye. So you were part of the old school, all in person, all the time workshop kind of thing, correct?
Yes, but you know what? For me, actually, the thing has certainly been in person forever. But even though it was in person, I've got a really cool relationship with the University of Connecticut. And when I'm doing programs at UConn, they generally simulcast them. So I'm in a room with, 20, 30, 40 people, and it's also being done online, which when it's done online, I never know how many people are which campus because they have 6 or 7 campuses. So it's kind of been a mixed bag for me for a long time. But now, of course, it's all virtual. So I've had a little bit of both for a long time, and now it's gone essentially all virtual.
So back up to that, University of Connecticut, was that an introduction that you got through AFE?
It was, well, indirectly. So here's kind of how that whole thing played out. And that's actually what I would call the shining star of my AFE experience. So they hooked me up with a small company in UConn. UConn has an incubator space. They call it TIPS. TIPS stands for Technology Incubation Program Services. So one of the gals there set up an appointment for me. This is probably going back 4 years ago, maybe 3, with a little company there. And the little company only had 6 employees. And so I met with the owner, and he's a really cool guy. And they've developed some kind of a system medically to help people get bone marrow arthroscopically. He's killing it now. He's flying all over the country, teaching doctors how to do this thing. But we decided that it's too small to do with just his group because there were 6 people. So that was kind of dumb. So he said, Mike, let me see if I can get some of the other companies in our little incubator involved. And at the time, I'm like, what incubator? What's that? I mean, I had no idea. This thing was going on 10 minutes from my office. And then we did that, and we got a whole bunch of companies involved. So we did the first one with maybe 20 people. But one of the guys that attended was actually the UConn guy who runs the incubator. His name's Paul. He's a really cool guy. So after we did our first one, Paul comes to my office, and I thought he was a client coming in to talk about his personal stuff. And what he was really doing is flushing me out. So he was kind of just checking out our office and seeing what we're all about. And then he asked me to kind of be part of, UConn TIPS. So I actually go into UConn now. I haven't been in lately because of the COVID, but I was going into UConn for a couple of years, once a month. They gave me an office. Companies would come in to see me kind of at UConn TIPS. And then what ended up happening is I met someone in UConn HR, and then I started kind of bleeding across UConn campuses. So now I kind of do something at UConn all the time. I've done so much at UConn. I have an email address at UConn. I've got a mail stop. I've got a phone number. It's crazy. Like I don't know if I'm considered like some kind of an adjunct faculty or like I don't know what my official role is there, but I have a lot of like venues now at UConn. So a lot of times professors retire, they just call me. It's like an automatic thing. They call me, which is really fun. It's great. So that's super nice. That's absolutely by far been the huge thing that AFE has brought to the table for us. Is that
but can we back up to the huge thing that AFE brought to you started with a 6-person meeting.
It did.
Right. And you could have easily said, you know what, I don't even want to waste my time. I don't want to go out there. This is, I live in a fairly densely populated area. Can't you get me anything better than that?
Well, the thing is though, like when I started this thing, I was talking to Brian and Kevin, and I said, listen, I'm surrounded because I'm in Connecticut. So what's around us is all the big insurance companies. This is considered the insurance capital of the world. So I assumed they would just bring me to the big insurance companies, we'd be done. And they said, well, we could try to do that, but why don't you let us do our own thing and just kind of see where we can get you. And I let them run. I let them drive. So I really haven't driven traffic in terms of where I go. I've let them do it all. And it's been a mixed bag. Some things are great like UConn and some things are not so great. It's like anything else. But I'm kind of I'm of the opinion that everyone's a human being and everyone needs some help. And we don't really turn people away. And I have gotten a lot of great things from things that started really small in the beginning. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that every company's going to have 500 people, and that's just not reality. So you take what's given to you, you do a good job with it. And the key with this whole thing is just following up. I mean, that process of what I call cracking UConn probably took a year. Now that it's cracked, it's just this thing. It's just a thing, right? And then they cracked another. They cracked a local paper for me. The local newspaper around here is called the New Britain Herald, and I went in there a couple years back. And when I met them, that was one of the easiest ones I've ever done. Actually, went in, met the owner. I wasn't meeting the HR guy. I wasn't meeting the VP. I wasn't meeting a committee. I sat with the owner for an hour, and we talked. And he liked what I had to say. And he's like, "Listen, I want you to run 6 workshops the next 6 months." I'm like, "Okay." So I was in there next week doing a workshop, and then we did one every month for 6 months. And that worked fantastically. And none of them were huge either. Some of them had 15 people, some of them had 20. One of them had 5 or 6 in their Bristol location. And I didn't get a ton of business out of that one, but what I did get is I got incredible relationships with everyone at the New Britain Herald. So whenever an article is written on anything finance, they call me. I'm in so much at that paper now just because of that whole deal. That was worth its weight in gold. Not from a business perspective, but from an HR and a PR perspective, because it's generated so much press, you can't quantify that.
Right. So that's really interesting because I get guys that ask me, and ladies, sorry, not to be sexist, potential members all day, every day, what can I expect from what's the ROI? What's the conversion rates? How many meetings turn into workshops and workshops turn into one-on-ones and one-on-ones turn into clients? And the answer I always give, because I look at our member stats all the time, is, I give the analogy, we're like a gym, right? We're like a gym. We're open 24 hours. We have the best equipment. We have kick-ass trainers. Like, we have all the tools for you. But if you said to me, am I going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger after a year at your gym? I don't know. Am I going to have to come to your house and put on your shoes? Am I going to have to take the ice cream out of your hands at night? Like, it has to be that it comes down to the advisor. It's just like you said. And I call myself the chief bubble popper at AFE. I go into every single meeting with a potential member saying, here's what we're not, here's the realistic expectations, here's what can go wrong. And if it can go wrong, it will at some point. If you're with us, here's what we do to try to mitigate it. Here's what we will do to try to make it better. But, I think what you were just saying has a lot to do with that, right? Like, you're an Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you're coming to my gym, I have no doubt that you're going to get in really good shape, because you're going to, take the 6 a.m. class. You're going to take that meeting with 6 people. You're going to do the follow-up. You're going to put people. So to that end, can you just talk a little bit about like your philosophies for what you've already said? You've got to do the follow-up. You've got to, look at kind of the bigger picture. But is there anything else really that you would say, like, for instance, I have people that say, well, can I just try it for 1 month? And I say, well, you can, but
that's stupid. So I would say there's 3 keys to making this thing really, really successful. One is, when you go in there, don't go in there as, like, in the very beginning, when I first started these guys, I would say the first 5 or 6 companies I worked with were like, no, we're not doing this. So I called up, I'm like, guys, what's going on? And I was talking to Brian Kevin. I'm like, this thing sucks. And they're like, no, it doesn't suck. Tell me what you're doing. And they were great. Like, I told them exactly what I was doing, and they coached me through how not to screw it up. So what I did in the beginning that was really, really bad is I went in there as Mike Chadwick from Chadwick Financial. And that was really dumb. So then as time unfolded and I got smarter, and I got frustrated too in the beginning, I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. So Kevin was telling me, Mike, go in there as a regional speaker for AFE. And we actually had business cards printed AFE, the whole 9 yards, right? So now when I walk in the first time, I give my AFE business card. I'm a divisional speaker for Connecticut. That's who we are. And then you just have the general dialogue with the company. And then, you fish out what they want and what they're looking for. In the beginning, we kind of guessed, like the owner and I, or the HR person and I, would guess at the topics we think are the best topics, which was really dumb too, because I delivered some topics that nobody gives a shit about. So what we learned over time is, now I go in, and if they like the concept, I give them a sheet of all the things I'm comfortable talking about. I say, listen, survey your employees, have them rank top 5, top 10, and we deliver them in that order. That way we know what we're giving them is what they want. I mean, this is not rocket science, but it took me 6 months to figure this out, because I'm quasi brain dead. Now that we got it, that's kind of the recipe. So we go in there giving them exactly what they want. And when you do the workshop, it's got to be purely educational. We're not bringing food. We're not bringing tchotchkes. It's purely educational. There's no sales involved.
no tchotchkes? We're not buying their love, Michael?
None of that nonsense. I'll tell you what I bring. I bring a little folder with my newsletter. And I tell you, the newsletter is a very powerful tool. I've got a newsletter list today about 6,000 people strong, largely due to my crowds at AFE. And when you're done doing your workshop, make it educational. I do a little survey for them. Listen, did you like what we talked about? Do you want any more information? I give them an opportunity to get the presentation, to get things we talked about, whatever it is. If it was a budget workshop, do you want our budget sheets? If it was an investment workshop, do you want a Morningstar report on your funds, or a review of your portfolio? Whatever they want to give away is fine. But make it purely an educational or a worthwhile thing. Don't make it nonsense. Don't chase things with commission breath. Provide a good, honest, fee-based service. And then at the end of the day, I let them sign up for any of my giveaways, my newsletter, or a free consult. So we end up, our general rules are this, or not our rules, but our general results. Just about every human being I've ever touched wants my newsletter. So that's kind of where that newsletter list has kind of grown to that size. That and existing clients just referring their friends and families and neighbors and loved ones. And then so let's say almost 95, 100% of them want newsletters. And then maybe 25% want something from the presentation. The presentation itself, whatever we're giving away as a result or a byproduct of the presentation's topic. And then I'd say about 15% of them want to come see us. When they come and see you, you're getting the vast majority of people as clients because they got issues. They got issues with their retirement, with the loved one who's sick, with whatever's going on in their life. They just got something going on where they need a professional like us to help them. And what will happen is a lot of times as you develop relationships with companies, the companies will ask you to help them with their own stuff, 401ks and benefits. And we don't do benefits. I refer to a friend, but we'll handle other 401ks. And my buddy on the benefits side will refer me his 401k business. So it's kind of like a cross-pollination thing.
You're going to get a lot of friend requests, Mike. I want to be his friend.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The key here, though, is follow-up. Because most of the times when I meet a company, like that newspaper guy was the only guy who ever said, let's do it right away. Usually it's I kind of like the idea. Let's think about it. Send me some stuff. So we'll do that. And a lot of them will say, call me back in 3 months, 30 days, 6 months, next year. So in our database, we use CRM. It's a red tail system. And, we put in there follow up with this clown on that day. And we do it like clockwork, man. We do it. If they tell me to follow up in 2 months, 6 months, a year, I do it. Or I have one of my staff do it. And that old person always gets a call or an email. Hey, just following up. You want to do this thing? And generally speaking, if they want to do it, they're going to do it. But it's not going to happen today. It might happen in 6 months, next year, 2 years. I mean, some of the ones I'm doing more recently were businesses I cracked open a year ago, 2 years ago. Yep. So the key is just kind of staying in front of them and being relevant, being part of their sphere. And when the time comes, they're going to touch you because, you're the guy, and one of the downsides to AFE is sometimes I've been there, did a good talk and everyone loved it. And then the person that either runs the place or the HR person figures out, oh, you know what, this is a cool concept. And then they talk to their 401k people. If their 401k advisor is doing a good job and they run this concept by them, sometimes the 401k people will start doing the workshops where they should have been doing them all along because they weren't even doing the minimum annual educational requirements they should have been. But now that I'm in there, they feel threatened and they start doing what they need to do. So, and that's fine. I mean, that's just fair competition. That's all good. And then sometimes with a good company, with a good advisor on the 401k side, once they float the idea by the advisor just takes them and runs with them. So we don't really get to do them, but we brought the idea to the forefront. They love the concept. They want to do it. And now it's being done by someone other than me, which is cool. There's plenty of business to go around. I mean, I literally can't do all the business. So that's totally fine. But I would say those are the three main things. Just, follow up, be honest, you do a good thing. Don't try to sell a bunch of shit. And then just stay in touch with them. If you stay in touch and you build a rapport, I mean, you got to be a moron not to be able to get business out of being in front of lots of people. I mean, this thing ultimately just puts you in front of a lot of people. And what I like about it is it puts you in front of people at noon or at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. or, we operate from 8 to 4. That's that. I mean, we're not doing 7 in the morning. We're not doing 5 at night. We're not doing that. I got a family and kids. And my wife, for a long time, I had a radio show. And it was every Tuesday night from like 5 to 9. And she was ready to kill me. She's like, Dave, you got to get rid of that. I'm like, okay. So I needed to get rid of that or I would have lost my whole family. You know what I mean? So this is great from a time of day perspective. It just works,
Yeah. All right.
There's no rocket science. There's absolutely no rocket science. It's friggin' the simplest thing in the world. Just do what you got to do is all it boils down to,
Can I go sign up for your newsletter? Can I see this magic? Can I?
Go on my website. If you go on the website, just sign up. It'll come to us. You'll get added to the list and you'll get it. Now here's the funny thing about my newsletter. I write the damn thing myself. I write like a third grader. I got to tell you, but now this is interesting because both my daughters are really good writers and I'll send it to them for editing. And I haven't done this until just recently because now they're college kids and they can write better than I can. But I've been doing this for 15, 16 years and I'll write it and it's written by me and I have a very, they say, conversational way of writing. So everyone says, Mike, I know you write that newsletter because they've talked to me and I guess it sounds like me talking when you read it. But here's the key though. It's chock full of grammatical errors, which I'm okay with because I'm a financial guy, not an author. I can take a complicated financial concept, kind of twist it into something relatively simple with a twist of sarcasm. That's kind of what our little recipe is. Like we can make this financial thing kind of fun. It's kind of sarcastic, and everyone thinks about finances as being painful and being like going to the dentist to get a root canal. It doesn't have to be. I mean, we try to make this thing fun and engaging. And, there's little things that you can do to make people that want to be part of this thing. That's the key. Make it feel like a family, make it feel like you really care because we do. We want the people to hire us to have a better outcome. And we want them to say, listen, I feel so much better after having talked to you. That's the general rule of thumb. When they walk in here, they come in here, we talk, and at the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, I feel so much better. When you hear those words, you kind of know you hit whatever what was bugging them. You press the button that we need to find, right?
Well, you gave really good tips for your success. You have to be a moron. You got to stay on them. You got to, you have to do your follow up and all that stuff. But you also just said something that's really, really important. You got to be a nice person. You got to be a nice human being. You have to have, I'm sorry, but you have to have that philanthropic component. You have to want to help people and not just your own bottom line. I believe that in all my heart.
Well, you know what it is too. The clients, I believe the clients have a radar. Like I think if you go somewhere with commission breath, they know it. And they're going to avoid you like the plague. Whereas if you go there, and I tell the clients, listen, clients will say, well, why are you doing this thing? And we're like, listen, we're doing it for two reasons. One is we want to give back to the community. It's a way to outreach. And two, what's going to happen is in your group, if we meet with your people and we provide an educational workshop, at some point, someone's going to call us for something. It'll be off business hours. They're going to want a one-on-one consult. They're going to have something going on in their world, their family. And the employer gets that. They know. They don't expect us to do this for free, but they appreciate the fact that they're getting an expert to come in and talk to them where they normally couldn't get it. And we've even had employers say, what do you charge for this? And when you say nothing, they wonder, well, is this legit? There's plenty of employers I could charge. Employers would pay hundreds, if not thousands of bucks for us to go in there and do this for them. And that's not necessary because we're going to get clients out of this thing. I would actually feel bad doing that. But that's actually a business model that would work if that's all you did. I mean, you could totally run a business doing this for companies. And right now, because of the environment, people need to be touched. They need human interaction. They just need to do things because they're all stuck. They're locked in their houses. It's funny, you make the gym analogy. The freaking gyms are closed. And the gyms that aren't closed, the things I like to do, which are play basketball, play volleyball, and play volleyball, all those things are closed because now they're using those facilities for these machines because you have to be spaced out because everyone's psycho about this stupid friggin' virus. I mean, this is out of control. So the hardest part about the whole thing is, to me, is there's no gyms. The rest of the world is very normal for us on a day-to-day basis. We're busy as hell. People walk in here every day. It's a great thing, but eventually this goes away and we're back to normal, which is what we're all looking for. We're all hoping for. The sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Amen. I'm so with you there. I'm ready. I need to get back to the gym, Michael.
You and me both, right? I probably put on 20 pounds since this friggin' thing started. It sucks.
12. I'm at a solid 12. Yeah, it's awesome. Feels good. Just that we're going to keep the camera up high. It's not pretty down there, but that's okay. Literally, I'm so thankful for you and for your time. I'm going to ask you one last question because I get people asking me this all the time, just with regards to the, like I alluded to earlier, converting from attendees to one-on-ones. Do you offer the complimentary consultation? That gives me the willies. I always tell people, don't say that. Just say, hey, I'm here to be a resource, because it sounds salesy, but how do you kind of navigate that piece?
Yeah, so we actually do offer what we call a complimentary consult. And when I do that survey form at the end of the workshop, like I said, we offer, the way our surveys are built, it's kind of like a rate the workshop in certain areas. Did you like the presentation? Did you like the content? Did you like the speed? Did you like the delivery? All the technical things we ask them. Then we ask, do you want some of our handouts? Do you want the actual presentation itself? Do you want our budget sheets? Whatever the concept is, we offer them everything. I kind of give away the farm. I don't think we have any special secret ingredients, so I don't kind of keep everything inside. If they want it, I'll give it to them. And then the second to last thing we offer is, do you want our newsletter? They all take it, every freaking one of them. I don't remember a workshop where we did one where someone did my newsletter. Everybody wants the stupid newsletter. And then the last thing is, do you want a consult? So our numbers are about 15% of the people will come in for a consult. And for the ones that come in, we get most of them. I mean, if we don't get 95% of them, something's wrong. Not always right away, but they'll come in and they'll explain their situations and what they're worried about. And some you convert right away, some you convert in time. I mean, and UConn's been.
But you stay on them. You put them on your drip. You say you reach out once a month. Hey, just touching base. I mean, or you let them kind of drive that.
Well, we don't stay on them in terms of like touching them or calling them. I drip on them. So we send everybody a newsletter. If any kind of a marketing event happens, like if I'm on TV, I get called to be on Fox and stuff a lot. So if we're on an event like that, I'll blast it out to the whole database. So everybody will get that kind of stuff. I'm not calling anybody. I'm not saying, hey, do you want to meet? I don't do any of that stuff.
Okay.
But we make ourselves available. We make them know who we are. And we put out anything we have that's educational or worth talking about. Like last winter when the whole world was falling apart with the virus, I put out a note saying, hey, listen, guys, this is not the end of the world. Don't worry about it. This is not something to be feared. It's actually an opportunity. And of course, it's been a huge opportunity, especially in the oil business, because they price oil companies that are going out of business. We made a killing on oil this year, killing. So, those kind of things, we'll put that stuff out there. I mean, whatever we see, we generally put it out there, and we're kind of, I call us equal opportunity insulters, because whatever out there that's stupid, I'll call it. Like if something dumb is going on, I'll call it. I'm ranking on the politicians all the time because they're so dumb it's beyond belief. But whatever happens is dumb. If it's dumb, I'm going to knock on it some, and I think people like that because it's just true, and there's no BS, there's no filter. Like here's the deal, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And if there's really great things out there, I say, listen, these are really great things. Go do these things, And we're pretty thrifty consumers. We tell people, what's the best way to buy a car. I mean, one of the guys in my office, he's so good with consumerism and just being a smart spender. He can tell you where to buy electricity today. Like depending on where you live, okay, go buy electricity from this company. I mean, it's crazy, but those little things, they add up over the course of a lifetime. Lots of smart little decisions makes for a really big improvement in one's outcome at the end of the day, and then every subject has its own little well you walk down. We talk a lot about colleges. We talk a lot about protecting clients' assets and nursing homes. There's just all kinds of subjects that everyone's in life gets hit by this stuff. It's not like only a certain percentage of the population or a certain part of the geography gets hit. We all get hit with this stuff, every one of us. And what's ironic is they don't teach any of this crap in school, none of it. High school or college, there's not a single course on financial well-to-do, how beings. I mean, it blows my mind that this stuff is not in the ether from when we're born to when we get out of high school. There should be a requirement that in order to get out of high school, you got to have mastery of all these concepts, along with raising your children. There's no.
I joke with my friends after 13 years of private schooling, I can square dance. And that was a class I took in school, square dancing, but I couldn't balance a checkbook. My mother had to teach me that as an adult in college. Yeah, but I can do-si-do all around you.
There you go. Hey, that's a whole lot of fun, right?
It's not bad. I didn't like it at the time because sweaty boys' hands, but it's fine. It's fine now. Michael, thank you for your wisdom, for your time, for sharing. You are indeed the rock star, the legend, the myth, the man, and I appreciate you.
Happy to help. It's a joy. You guys are a great organization. I'm happy to be a part of it, and I think what you're doing is so important for the whole world. We need, as an organization, good advisors in every big city in the country, so people have a resource to go get this information and get it from a reliable source. Because so much of our business is nonsense. It's just noise and essentially BS. The hardest part is being able to filter the reality from the BS. That's the hardest part of this business.
Man, we couldn't do it without you, so thank you. All right, have a happy holiday. Take care.
Likewise. Have a great day.
Okay, bye, Michael.